Good evening, everyone. We need to talk about something that has stirred up serious conversations across Nigeria and even reached international headlines. Former United States President Donald Trump recently made a statement saying that while Muslims face persecution and death in various parts of the world, Christians suffer the most. Now, this comment alone would have been a topic for discussion, but what makes it particularly relevant to us here in Nigeria is how it connects to two very controversial figures in our country, the notorious bandit leader Bello Turji and the Islamic cleric Sheikh Ahmad Gumi. Let me break down what is happening, because this story has layers that you need to understand. Donald Trump's statement came at a time when religious persecution remains a hot-button issue globally. He pointed out that Christians face significant persecution in many regions, though he acknowledged that Muslims are also victims of violence. For Nigerians, this statement hits differently because we have been living through a security crisis that has religious undertones, particularly in the north, where banditry, kidnapping, and terrorism have created a humanitarian disaster. Now, here is where Bello Turji enters the picture. This man has become one of the most feared bandit leaders operating in Zamfara state and surrounding areas. His gangs have been responsible for countless kidnappings, killings, and the displacement of thousands of people from their communities. Villages have been razed, families torn apart, and the economic activities in these regions have ground to a halt because people are too afraid to farm or conduct business. Turji has built a reputation as someone who operates with impunity, and despite military operations, he continues to be a thorn in the flesh of security agencies. But what makes this story even more complex is the involvement of Sheikh Ahmad Gumi, a prominent Islamic scholar who has positioned himself as someone who can negotiate with bandits and terrorists. Gumi has traveled to forests to meet with these armed groups, claiming that dialogue is the best approach to ending the violence. His critics, however, say he is too sympathetic to these criminals and that his interventions give legitimacy to people who should be facing justice. Some Nigerians believe that Gumi's approach emboldens bandits like Turji, making them feel like they have a voice and can negotiate terms rather than face the full weight of the law. The controversy deepened when reports emerged suggesting that Gumi has had interactions or discussions related to Turji's activities. Whether these were direct negotiations or attempts to broker peace, the optics alone have caused outrage. Many Christians in the affected regions feel that the violence perpetrated by bandits often targets them disproportionately, with churches being attacked, Christian villages burned, and church leaders kidnapped for ransom. This is where Trump's statement about Christians suffering the most resonates with many Nigerians who feel their plight is not getting enough attention. Now, it is important to note that Muslims are also victims of this banditry. Muslim communities have been attacked, mosques have not been spared, and Muslim leaders have also been kidnapped. The violence in states like Zamfara, Katsina, Sokoto, and Niger is not strictly along religious lines when you look at the numbers. These bandits are criminals motivated primarily by money, power, and control of territory. They kidnap anyone they can get their hands on, regardless of faith. But the perception of religious targeting persists because of isolated incidents and the rhetoric used by some of the perpetrators. If you have been following this channel and enjoying the kind of deep analysis we bring to these important issues, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. Sheikh Gumi's defenders argue that someone needs to talk to these bandits if there is any hope of achieving peace. They say that military action alone has not solved the problem, and that understanding the grievances of these groups, however distasteful that may seem, could lead to lasting solutions. Gumi himself has stated that many of these bandits are Fulani herdsmen who took up arms because of injustices they faced, including cattle rustling and attacks on their communities. He believes that addressing these root causes through dialogue is essential. Critics are having none of it. They point out that these are not freedom fighters or revolutionaries with legitimate grievances. These are criminals who have killed thousands of innocent people, destroyed livelihoods, and held entire communities hostage through fear. Giving them a platform, they argue, is an insult to their victims and undermines the efforts of security forces risking their lives to restore order. When Trump made his statement about Christians suffering the most, it reignited this debate in Nigeria. Christian groups and leaders in the affected areas have long complained that the federal government has not done enough to protect Christian communities. They see statements like Trump's as validation of their experiences. Muslim groups, on the other hand, caution against turning this into a religious war when the real issue is criminality and state failure. They worry that divisive rhetoric will only make the situation worse and play into the hands of those who want to destabilize the country along religious lines. The truth is, Nigeria's security crisis is multifaceted. Yes, there are religious dimensions to some of the violence, but there are also ethnic, economic, and political factors at play. The failure of governance, poverty, unemployment, and the proliferation of weapons have all contributed to the current situation. Turji and bandits like him thrive in environments where the state is weak or absent. Sheikh Gumi's interventions, whatever you think of them, are happening because conventional approaches have failed to deliver results. What we need as Nigerians is honest conversation about these issues without resorting to religious or ethnic finger-pointing. We need security forces that are well-equipped and motivated to protect all citizens. We need justice for victims and accountability for perpetrators. We need economic development in these troubled regions so that young people have alternatives to crime. And we need leaders who prioritize the safety and well-being of Nigerians above political calculations. What do you think about this whole situation? Should people like Sheikh Gumi be engaging with bandits, or should the government take a harder military approach? Do you think religious targeting is real, or is this primarily about criminality? Drop your thoughts in the comments below because we want to hear from you. And if this video gave you a clearer understanding of what is happening, show some love by hitting that like button and sharing it with others who need to stay informed.